They said it was random. A lone suspect, a quick arrest, and a story wrapped up before the world could even blink. But now, newly uncovered footage, a hidden diary, and shocking claims from people who knew him best are rewriting everything we thought we knew about Charlie Kirk's final days. Candace Owens says she's seen his private journals. Joe Rogan insists the official story doesn't add up. And somewhere in the shadows, a mysterious man who's appeared at multiple national tragedies has suddenly vanished again. So what really happened to Charlie Kirk? Was it a tragic coincidence? Or something much larger? It started quietly, a whisper, a rumor, a shaky clip passed from one phone to another. Then it grew. Home security cameras near the scene captured something the public was never supposed to see. A woman, walking beside the shooter, seconds before everything unfolded. The footage is real. Multiple witnesses confirmed it. Yet the FBI has neither released it nor admitted it exists. And that's where the story splits in two. The version we were told, and the version we were never meant to hear. From the start, the case was packaged as simple: a senseless act, a closed investigation, a neat explanation to calm the outrage. But simplicity doesn't survive when the cracks begin to show. Candace Owens, one of the first to question the official story, said something chilling in her opening statement. There will be no fakeness, and there will be no weakness in this investigation. It sounded like a warning to the public and to whoever might be listening. Because not long after Charlie's death, the very people who had criticized him, mocked him, or threatened his reputation suddenly began praising him. Overnight, enemies turned into mourners. Opponents became friends. The same voices that once called him dangerous were now calling him a martyr. The contradiction was impossible to ignore, and it sparked the first wave of suspicion. Who was rewriting the story? And why? Some said it was politics. Others said it was guilt. But Candace hinted at something darker, an unseen thread connecting Charlie's death, the hidden footage, and the silence that followed. Because if there really was a woman with the shooter, and if officials knew, then this wasn't a random act. It was orchestration, and secrets that deep never come without consequences. Weeks later, Candace went live. No fancy set, no production, just a dimly lit room and a quiet determination. Her tone was calm, her expression grave. She said she had something she never planned to reveal, something too personal even for her. Then she dropped the bombshell. She had read Charlie Kirk's personal journals. At first, people thought it was performance. But the look in her eyes said otherwise. She described pages filled with fear, confusion, and betrayal, entries written by a man who no longer felt safe in his own home. Then came the line that froze her audience. I still love her. But I don't know if she'll be there for me. She didn't say who she was. She didn't need to. Everyone knew she was talking about his wife, Erica Kirk. Those words pierced the illusion of the perfect marriage. To the public, the Kirks were faith and loyalty personified, a power couple who seemed unbreakable. But Charlie's own handwriting suggested otherwise. Some believe those words were written just days before his death. Maybe as part of a confession. Maybe as a goodbye he never finished. Candace ended that live stream with one haunting line. If you think this story is over, you're not paying attention. Then came Joe Rogan. When he addressed the case on his podcast, it wasn't with jokes or debate. It was with hesitation. You could hear it in his pauses. It's like they had the script ready before the cameras even showed up, Rogan said. He questioned how quickly the story was wrapped up, the arrest, the press conference, the neat explanations. Everything moved too fast. Rogan pointed out the oddities. The suspect's photos looked too clean. The lighting and background didn't match eyewitness accounts. Even the description of the weapon didn't align with official reports. Then he said the words that went viral overnight. I had this weird feeling, like I was watching a movie that had already been edited. Those 9 words blew open a storm of speculation. Was Rogan suggesting the event was staged? That someone edited reality before the public ever saw it? Within hours, independent journalists began analyzing every frame of footage. Shadows didn't align. Figures disappeared between cuts. The timeline suddenly looked impossible. But what truly shook listeners wasn't the footage. It was the appearance of a man. In that footage, blurred and barely visible, an older man appeared, gray hair, dark clothing, a baseball cap pulled low, calm, too calm. While others panicked, he seemed to be directing attention, pointing, shouting, even waving his arms. One witness described him perfectly. He wasn't reacting, he was guiding. And then, just as chaos peaked, he vanished. A few days later, that same man was reportedly arrested on an unrelated charge, then disappeared from public record entirely. No mugshot, no court file, nothing. Joe Rogan later hinted that this wasn't the first time this man had been seen. He claimed that photos of him existed at other tragedies. Boston, Vegas, even 9/11, always in the background, never identified. He called him a ghost who always shows up when something big goes down. At first, it sounded like a wild theory, until witnesses near the scene confirmed seeing that same man. That's when Candace Owens dropped another piece of the puzzle. In Charlie's journal, there was a cryptic entry about the decoy. He's there to make sure no one looks where they should. Those words matched the eyewitness descriptions exactly. So how did Charlie know about this man before the tragedy even occurred? Either it was coincidence, or Charlie Kirk knew he was being watched. In his final week alive, Charlie made a decision that now seems prophetic. According to Candace, he signed an internal memo calling for a complete financial audit inside Turning Point USA, the very organization he founded. Sources say that audit wasn't routine, it named names. High-level donors, board members, executives. Charlie wanted clarity, transparency, accountability. But behind the scenes, that decision sent shockwaves. Candace described the moment he signed the document as the shift. After that day, his behavior changed. He became guarded, almost paranoid. He double-checked emails, changed passwords, questioned who had access to his files. One assistant recalled, he looked like a man preparing for a storm he couldn't describe. His final diary entry reportedly read, "Some people aren't going to like what I'm about to find." That line now feels like a warning, and maybe a premonition. Just days later, he was gone. And just as suddenly, the audit he ordered vanished too. Quietly, postponed, never resumed, never mentioned again. To outsiders, it looked like respect for the grieving period. But insiders whispered a darker interpretation, a cover-up. Within a week, Charlie's widow, Charlie Kirk, appeared before cameras, composed, eloquent, determined. She vowed to continue her husband's mission, to lead Turning Point into its next chapter. The public applauded her strength. But those close to Charlie felt uneasy. Because while most families were grieving, Erica had already assumed leadership, signing documents, attending private meetings, and appearing on news programs under the title Acting Director. It was fast. Too fast. Almost as if it had been planned. Candace later revealed another diary excerpt. "Important decisions are being made without me." If true, that meant Charlie knew he was being cut out of his own organization, and that those decisions were happening right before his death. Employees later confirmed that Erica had attended several internal meetings alone, without her husband. At the time, they thought it was routine. Now it looked like preparation. Candace's commentary turned razor sharp. Sometimes the people closest to you aren't standing beside you, they're standing behind you. The line hit like thunder, because it said what everyone was afraid to think. The aftermath split the internet in two. Supporters defended Erica, saying leadership was her way to honor Charlie. Critics called it a power grab. Soon, journalists uncovered that Erica had been in talks with donors days before the tragedy, discussing expanding influence and post-leadership transitions. Some dismissed it as business continuity. Others saw a blueprint for succession. Then came another twist. Footage surfaced showing Erica at a private dinner with executives who had opposed Charlie's audit. Her smile, her calm, her timing, It all looked rehearsed. Candace Owens added fuel to the fire when she quoted another line from the journals. "I'm not sure who's really there for me anymore." The internet erupted. Was Erica the grieving widow, or the keeper of secrets Charlie was never meant to expose? Even Joe Rogan weighed in again weeks later. "You can tell when people are scared to talk. That silence, it's louder than anything else." Behind the polished press releases, something was changing inside Turning Point USA. Employees described a heavy tension. Doors closed, conversations whispered. The audit Charlie started was postponed indefinitely. Projects he personally approved were paused without explanation. A senior staffer said, "It felt like walking through a house where every mirror was covered." Then came the resignations. Several of Charlie's closest allies quietly stepped down. No farewell emails, no goodbyes. They simply disappeared from internal. Directories Candace said she wasn't chasing drama. She was chasing truth. I'm saying what Charlie would have said if he were still here. But once she opened that door, there was no closing it. The internet exploded. Podcasts dissected her words. Comment sections became battlegrounds. Some called her a hero. Others called her delusional. Then a whistleblower leaked a screenshot from an internal message board instructing employees to avoid referencing Candace Owens' statements or engaging in speculation. It was corporate speak for censorship, and it made the silence feel deliberate. By then, the official narrative had collapsed under its own weight. Too many missing files, too many unanswered questions, the unreleased footage, the mysterious man, the audit that vanished, the widow's sudden rise, the fear that settled over everyone who tried to ask questions. Candace Owens's words became the heartbeat of a movement. Truth doesn't die when a person does. It waits. People began scouring Charlie's old speeches, podcasts, and interviews, searching for clues. And they found them. Subtle warnings, cryptic comments, metaphors that now sounded like confessions. In one video recorded months before his death, Charlie said, "You can't clean a system that profits from being dirty." At the time, it sounded like politics. Now it feels prophetic. Maybe Charlie wasn't paranoid. Maybe he was perceptive. Maybe he saw something that scared him enough to document it. And maybe that's why his diary mattered so much. Even now, the puzzle pieces don't fit neatly together. Who was the woman in the video? Who was the decoy who vanished into thin air? What happened to the audit memo, and who buried it? Why did Erica move so quickly? And why did silence follow every question about her? Each clue feels like part of a larger design, like pages torn from a story we were never meant to finish. Candace summed it up best. Charlie saw something he wasn't supposed to see, and someone made sure we never saw it too. And that brings us to the haunting question that refuses to die. Was Charlie Kirk's death a tragic coincidence, or the silencing of a man who got too close to the truth? No matter where the investigation leads or doesn't, Charlie Kirk's story has become something bigger than a single man. It's become a mirror reflecting how easily truth can be rewritten, reshaped, or erased. Maybe one day the footage will surface. Maybe the diary will be authenticated. Or maybe the silence will never break. But one thing is certain, this story isn't over. Because as long as those missing pieces remain hidden, the question will keep echoing. What if he was right? In a world built on secrets and spin, maybe Charlie's greatest act wasn't his leadership or his politics, but his refusal to stop searching for the truth, and perhaps that's what caught him in the end. Candace Owens whispered it best during her final live stream. Some people chase money. Some chase fame. Charlie chased the truth, and maybe that's what found him first. Until the footage surfaces, until the silence breaks, his words, and the questions he left behind, will haunt everyone who dares to look closer. Because sometimes the most dangerous story is the one that was never supposed to be told.